Hello, and welcome to the Spec Shaman Podcast, the show that explores the world of building product manufacturers, architects, and engineers, sustainable design, and technology and trends. We engage in thought-provoking discussions with renowned experts, industry pioneers, and visionaries who are making a significant impact in the construction industry. Join us as we explore groundbreaking ideas, revolutionary concepts, and the latest advancements shaping the built environment. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Spec Shaman Podcast. I'm your host, Megan Vipond, and today we'll discuss how inclusive design is evolving, how technology is transforming universal access, and how designers can lead the charge towards spaces that truly welcome everyone. Joining me today is Glenn Woodworth, a design and manufacturing consultant for Camden Door Controls, a company bringing quality, performance, and value to access control marketplace. Glenn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Megan. Happy to be here.
Now, before we dive in, could you share a little bit about your background in the building and design industry and what initially drew you into this field?
Megan, I've been in this industry now for my entire life. I actually began as a child assisting my father, who had a service company, an installation company, and I would travel around with him as a helper. I don't know if he had me with him for because he enjoyed my company and my assistance, or whether it was just to get me out of my mother's hair. I don't know. But so I would travel with him and learn the industry as a child. So once I got my driver's license in the mid-'70s, I went out on the road as a, by that time, fully qualified service technician and did installation and service. And once I joined my present company about 30 some odd years ago, I was in the sales field at that point, selling automatic doors and door hardware. And from there, I also got involved with the company in doing product design, and that was very rewarding, helping to turn my experience and what I had gleaned from our customers in the field into actually helping to design products for our industry. So that was very rewarding, and I still continue to do that to this day.
That's amazing. Thank you. Now, let's start big picture. The concept of universal design, it's been around for decades, but how has the concept of universal design evolved beyond just meeting minimum code requirements?
I think when we talk about universal design, I think we're developing a industry and products that are more user-friendly and inclusive, which improves the overall experience. Products that anyone can use. And, when we look at who is using our entryways and doors, it's able-bodied persons as well as people with disabilities. And people with disabilities, believe it or not, are considered right now the largest minority group in the world. In Canada alone, we have probably well over 9 million people who consider accessibility when determining a business to visit. So it is a very important requirement.
In what ways has the design community's perception of accessibility shifted over the past decade?
Well, again, back to the point of an increasing number of people with disabilities. I think our design community is becoming more aware of accessibility requirements and including these when they're writing specifications. We're becoming, again, we use this word inclusive, but we're becoming more inclusive of all disabilities, including, every disability that you can think of. Businesses and municipalities, they all have one thing in common. They want to be welcoming to everyone. That's why it's important to consider everything involved in building accessible entryways and washrooms. No one wants the clients or patrons or constituents to feel unwelcome or even at risk when they use their facilities.
How can accessibility be seen as an integrated design feature rather than a bolt-on option?
I think when we look at design features, we're looking at influence of the building codes, accessibility, and designing more inclusive washrooms, entryways, nursing homes, giving all the users a greater, more user-friendly experience.
And then on the flip side, what are some common misconceptions about barrier-free design that you still encounter among design professionals?
Some things that I see is still some old school thinking that kind of creeps into it. Some cut and paste, designing where because something's worked for so many years, let's just keep using it. For example, in washrooms, I see more and more automatic doors being used, but there's still a deadbolt on the door. The deadbolt doesn't work because someone with a disability perhaps cannot open that deadbolt. Someone in a wheelchair with limited arm movement can't reach a deadbolt. And if in case of an accident inside the washroom, how would somebody be able to enter that washroom to render assistance? Instead, that door should have perhaps an electric strike with a tie-in to an emergency call system, and therefore assistance could be rendered much more quickly. So some things like deadbolts that may have worked in the past just don't fit in with the modern technology. So that's one example.
Now let's talk about the regulatory side for a moment. Which accessibility standards are most critical for design professionals to understand today?
There's several standards, of course, that are used. The most common I can think of is the ANSI standard A117.1. A117.1 is the standard on accessible and usable buildings and facilities. This includes things like the size of the doorway, the amount of room, say, inside a washroom, the amount of doors that are required for any given size facility, things like that. In addition to A117.1, I can think of the A156.19, and A156.19 is the standard for low energy power operated swinging doors. And that, of course, that governs all low energy doors, whether they're being used in entryways or washrooms. In addition to those, we have various provincial building codes in Canada. Besides the national building code, you've got various provincial building codes, such as the Ontario Building Code, BC Building Code, et cetera, et cetera. In the U.S., you would be following the ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. So those are some of the standards that are used today.
And how do municipal requirements influence accessibility design choices?
So in various municipalities, they would institute their own codes based on influences perhaps by various groups. In Toronto, say, for instance, we have the City of Toronto has instituted a update to the Ontario Building Code as far as emergency call systems in universal washrooms. They felt that the 1 5/8 mushroom button that's typically used on emergency call systems was inadequate, and fell short of what was actually required, and instead instituted a ribbon switch, which is about 33.5 inches tall and is able to be used by someone in the prone position as well as someone seated or even standing. So therefore, it becomes much more inclusive. So a municipality such as the City of Toronto takes what's typically used in the province or country and builds upon it to make something even more inclusive. And so they're kind of ahead of the curve, if you will, as to what is being used in emergency call systems. In another city, for example, I can give you Winnipeg, Manitoba, which instead of just utilizing a single push button switch for activating automatic doors, they've mandated a column switch, which is 3 feet tall and can be used by someone standing, sitting in a wheelchair, just about anybody. So they've taken existing codes and just built upon them where they've felt they could make an improvement.
Now, do you have any recommendations for firms on coordinating with code officials earlier in the process?
Yeah, I mean, anytime in designing, there's the opportunity to reach out to building professionals, experts, if you will. All architects and builders have some accessibility experience or training, but not all, and therefore reach out to other experts in the field, such as influencers, accessibility consultants, people like that, who can offer their experience. Some of it is personal experience, and they can offer some guidance. Also, a lot of manufacturers of this equipment have similar experiences that they can share.
Now, technology is transforming accessibility design in incredible ways. How has technology changed the way barrier-free access is designed and implemented?
So over the years, as from what I've seen, and I've been involved in redesign of some of these types of products, but we've seen where, say, for instance, during COVID, there was a big shift towards not wanting to touch activating switches for automatic doors. So everyone went away from a push switch type design to a wave switch, where you would simply wave your hand in front of the switch, and that in turn would activate the door. So therefore, no contact means less chance of picking up a COVID germ. So there was a shift during shortly after COVID where there was a great deal of use of wave switches. Also, we're seeing a shift towards activation of automatic doors utilizing something called a column switch. So again, someone in a wheelchair, for instance, who may not have the ability to reach up and press a switch, can instead hit this column switch with their wheelchair or their foot, perhaps. Any body part can activate the switch. And therefore, again, now it becomes a little more inclusive. And in fact, one of the greatest products I've seen is where that column switch is combined with a wave switch all in one design. So you can drive your wheelchair into it, you can kick it, you can press it with your hand, or you can even wave your hand in front of it. So that is quite unique. As well, we've seen a greater interest in switches such as kinetic switches. Now, the kinetic switch has a no battery solution. So a kinetic switch generates its own power as you press the switch, and sends a signal wirelessly to the automatic door operator to open the door for you. So we're looking at a product that has, it's a very low maintenance device over the lifespan, which is, several million cycles. We're not changing batteries, so we're contributing to the green initiative, and at the same time, making it a quicker and less expensive installation. Another technology I think I mentioned earlier was the ribbon switches. So these switches, instead of just having one momentary small activating device, you have a ribbon switch that gives you a larger activation field. So instead of something just 1 5/8 inches around, you've got a ribbon switch that can be several feet in length, making it more inclusive.
When talking about touchless access, what are the benefits of transitioning from mechanical push buttons to a touchless solution?
Well, it's a more hygienic solution for sure. So by giving you they're sometimes called wave switches. A touchless solution means that you have easier accessibility. You don't have to be right on top of the switch to activate it. You can be several inches away, even up to several feet away. If someone is in a wheelchair, they can simply roll up in front of that device, and the touchless switch will pick them up, activate the contact, and open the automatic door. So from hygienic to a more user-friendly experience, they do have a significant advantage, and also lower maintenance because it's not a mechanical device applied on the surface of a wall. It's actually a flush design. The only moving part would be an internal, say, relay, for instance, and therefore it's going to last longer. It can be built in many different finishes and styles and designs to suit the application, or, you could have a round switch, you could have a square, you could have a rectangular, you could even build it right into the wall surface for a more discrete application.
Now, you mentioned kinetic switches, and I've heard the term kinetic energy harvesting used in relation to switches. Can you explain a little bit more about how that technology contributes to sustainable building design?
Sure. So the kinetic, as I mentioned, is a energy harvesting. And what I mean by that is as you press the switch, it generates a very small amount of current. And to the user, it's invisible. They have no idea that there is a kinetic type switch internally. So by pressing it, it generates a small amount of power. It sends a signal to a radio receiver up in the door header, which opens the door automatically. Because of this, there's no batteries. It's a cleaner installation. There's no wiring with this. So what that means is that the designer has more freedom in the installation choices. So you can use whatever building wall materials you wish to use without having to include for, say, wall boxes or electrical wiring, or how am I going to fish wiring to this particular switch. You can simply put in the kinetic switch anywhere, and it'll send the signal to the receiver. So there's greater freedom. It's a greener product. And again, from the user experience, they don't realize any difference from a regular automatic door switch.
And what about enunciation systems? How do they play a role in inclusive design?
So what we're seeing is a trend towards making things like washrooms, for instance, more user-friendly. So when a person goes into a washroom, we have audio-visual indicators there to alert the person as to what's the next step. Well, if you go into a washroom, you must lock the door. So we have a visual cue that alerts the person, okay, I must now press this switch to lock the door. And then once it's locked, what's the next step? Well, we have again, a visual cue to alert the person that they must now press this other switch to exit the washroom. While the washroom, say, is occupied, we have visual indication outside the washroom to alert the user that there is, in fact, somebody in there using the facility. And this all contributes to the user experience. Right now, it's all visual. There's a growing trend towards making it more inclusive by including braille signage, for instance, and also audio sounds. So there could be a audio signal or audio word that is used to indicate that the washroom is occupied or the door is locked. So this is where we are right now with the design process, trying to build in more audio and visual cues for all disabilities.
Yeah, and actually, it sounds like it may even improve the safety and awareness for all occupants, not just those with disabilities.
Correct. Absolutely.
What's the best way to balance innovation with low maintenance durability?
I would say for the designer to leverage existing technology, lean on the accessibility consultants and other experts in the field to try and glean what's the best products for that particular installation or application. There's a lot of experience out there. The best advice comes from an accessibility specialist, someone who has hands-on or lived experience. They'll look at the plans, they'll provide feedback, and make sure that all possible situations are being considered. And just lean on the community.
Let's bring it back to people. Ultimately, barrier-free design is about the human experience. How do accessibility features impact the daily lives of individuals with limited mobility?
Well, it's certainly going to provide easier access through the entire building. So as a user comes through, if the doors open automatically, that's a welcome into the facility. And I think you should not stop at just the exterior entryway. Anywhere that a user would travel within a building, those doors should be automated, and there should be no impairment to their travel through a building. So it's not just automatic doors, but being able to experience anything that an able-bodied person would be able to experience.
In what ways do accessible washroom designs contribute directly to occupant well-being?
Well, I'm going to quote someone right now, Julie Sawchuk, who is a accessibility consultant, and she said it very clearly. And she says, less effort expended equals more energy gained. And in her words, this is the power of accessibility. When someone such as herself or any one with a disability has to push open a door manually or, somehow get their wheelchair up over a step instead of up a ramp, they have to expend a great deal of effort. So by the end of a day, that person could be quite exhausted. So by making our washroom designs more user-friendly and incorporating more accessibility features, that person with a disability can then expend less effort. So they have more energy at the end of the day.
And when it comes to signage, particularly multilingual signage, what is the importance there in promoting inclusive and safe environments?
Well, it opens communication to all, You have English, you have French, bilingual. In the US, you would have, say, English and Spanish. Also, I think that should include Braille as well. We're we're hearing more and more requirements for Braille signage, and it just includes everyone, not just English, not just French. Anyone with a visual impairment should also be able to read a sign. So I think it really allows everyone to use the facilities, so it's more inclusive.
And in emergency situations, how does universal access improve safety for all building occupants?
Well, the same answer, really. I think by opening up communication to everyone, they can then have a much safer experience as well.
So, accessibility is not just a technical requirement, it's really a design opportunity. How can design professionals ensure accessibility features integrate seamlessly into overall design aesthetics?
I think as a manufacturer, we make products and solutions that combine functionality, user appeal, and internationally approved graphic designs that make the experience much more user friendly.
What materials and finish choices best support both durability and visual appeal in accessibility solutions?
Well, I believe the first choice right off the top would be stainless steel. It's broadly accepted and available. Um, but we've also seen a lot of like anodized finishes, such as clear anodized dark bronze was very popular for a while. Now we're seeing finishes such as black anodized finishes become very popular as well. But my first choice would probably be stainless steel.
Are there any product or finish innovations helping designers achieve an invisible accessibility?
Well, we're seeing some technologies that are newer that allow the products to be mounted behind wall finishes. So a very high frequency microwave type product would detect motion and presence, but allow it to be mounted behind the wall surface and therefore not be protruding or require extra installation effort. These types of products are great. However, it's an emerging technology, so there's not a lot of that type of product out there yet. But we're using high maintenance type finishes, stainless steel, a glass type substrate that can be wiped down. Again, with COVID, we found that, for instance, a lot of the paint that was applied to things like door switches and whatnot was easily removed by the very aggressive cleaning chemicals that were used after COVID. And so therefore, we came up with solutions such as laser etching the designs onto the switches, and this laser etching could not be removed by the cleaning solutions like the paint could, say, for instance. So these types of materials can easily be laser etched and provide much more durability.
And how can design professionals decide when to use different types of accessibility solutions within one project?
I think the utilizing design guides or white papers from various manufacturers to suggest the best solutions, and again, reaching out to other design professionals or consultants, advocates for accessibility, can help provide guidance in these cases.
And could you share a case study or a couple of case studies with us where a barrier-free solution significantly improved building usability?
One such example I can use was a installation done at Toronto Pearson Airport back in about the middle of 2024. They wished to update and renovate about 50 of their universal washrooms and nursing rooms in Terminal 1. And so they consulted with us about how we could give them, an updated experience from what they previously had, which was now, several years old. It was, in some cases, falling apart. The materials in these washrooms and nursing rooms needed to be updated and modernized. And as well, the automatic doors needed to be updated as well. So they came to us and asked us for our recommendations, and we provided some guidance as to what types of switches would work best. And so they selected a stainless steel column switch with a wave actuator at the top, again, for the reasons I've given previously. And they were also looking to automate the locking process, because what they found at the airport was there's a lot of folks from other countries that come in, maybe from Europe or Asia, wherever, that are not familiar with, say, how we in North America would lock a washroom door. And so they would come into the washrooms and look all around. Maybe they're late for a flight, or they're just arriving. There's a lot of things on their mind. And so they would use the facilities and not notice or see that there was a push to lock button on the wall that they should have pressed to lock the door and give them privacy. And so the airport authority said, how can we lock these doors automatically so that people who are either absent-minded or new to this country or unaware of our procedures, how can they lock the door? So we came up with a occupancy sensor design that was integrated into the washroom. So as the occupant came in, the door would close behind them. The sensor would see that person and lock the door automatically. So this was included in this redesign of the washroom and nursing rooms, as well the emergency call systems that they provided in the washrooms. We integrated that into the automatic door system so that in the event of an emergency, if someone pressed the button for assistance to speak to an operator or someone that could render assistance, it would work with our system to automatically unlock the door, making it easier for someone to assist with that emergency. So all of these features were combined to update the washroom doors, and in early 2025 it was implemented and is now working. So they're going to use this design for the future as they renovate additional washrooms and design nursing rooms in the airport.
But looking ahead, how might sustainability and accessibility converge more deeply in future building codes?
Certainly by providing easier implementation through innovative technologies and design. We want to, again, make all the entries more inclusive. And by doing so, we want to embrace some of these newer technologies I've mentioned. And by providing easier implementation through innovative technologies, some of which I've mentioned, and design, we can make all of our buildings much more inclusive.
How do you see smart technologies reshaping universal access?
One such technology we've looked at is by identifying the specific needs of a user as they approach a door. So, for instance, they may have an app on their phone, and this app would identify their needs, such as does that door simply need to unlock as they approach it, or maybe that door would unlock and open automatically for that user, uh, or maybe provide audio or visual direction. So this would be, say, an app or something on their phone that would provide this additional assistance.
How can architects ensure accessibility is considered from concept through occupancy?
Well, I think if the architect again can reach out and speak with various building professionals and experts in the field, they can, I think if they reach out and involve other professionals and experts, then they'll get the guidance they need to involve, to include the various technologies that I've mentioned.
In what ways can older buildings be retrofitted to meet modern accessibility standards?
Well, one of the ways is utilizing things like our the kinetic harvesting switch that does not require additional wiring, say, from the switches to the automatic door operators. Therefore, it can be installed in older buildings that don't have the wiring pre-installed by electricians. That's one example. Using the wave switches with the wireless design as well means that they can be retrofitted much easier into older buildings.
In what ways can design professionals take a leadership role in shaping the next generation of barrier-free spaces?
I think by engaging spokespeople, influencers, accessibility consultants, they're going to have a better handle on including the latest technology in creating barrier-free entrances.
If you could reimagine one aspect of accessibility design, what would it be?
It would certainly have to involve, making automatic doors safer and more inclusive.
But what global trends or policies do you think will most influence accessibility design over the next 10 to 20 years?
I would say certainly we're going to see automatic doors and their use becoming ever more popular. In Canada, we've had the government assist by introducing codes, building codes, etc., that mandate certain number of automatic doors for the size of the building or the number of washrooms, that type of thing. But I think that's growing as the number of people with disabilities is growing. The automatic door use is going to increase as well. So I think that's going to continue to grow, and we're going to see increased usage of automatic doors, low energy automatic doors throughout facilities.
And how can continuing education for design professionals really drive progress toward inclusivity?
So we've seen an organization called ATOM, which is the American Association of Automatic Door Manufacturers, really take a leadership role as far as training, as far as letting end users, architects, spec writers all understand the importance of including automatic doors in their design and buildings. Adam have provided training courses, white papers, and really seized the opportunity to make automatic doors more inclusive and safer. And they can certainly be a reference for anyone in the design community as a first step, reaching out to Adam, who would provide that education for the person.
And if there's one key takeaway you want design professionals to remember about accessibility, what would it be?
I would say stop making the same mistakes, engage with other professionals to help design welcoming entrances that are more inclusive.
Glenn, thank you so much for sharing your insights and helping us see how accessibility and design can and should coexist beautifully.
Thank you, Megan.
We appreciate you joining us on the Spec Shaman podcast as we continue exploring the details that make great architecture possible.
Thank you for listening to the Spec Shaman podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our show and leave us a review. A huge thank you to our guests who made this show possible. Thanks all for this episode, folks. See you next time.